Itewan Semi, I'm back. Part 2. So I kind of decided that I'm going to call, of this love story, I think I'm going to call this a woman scorned and a naive man. The naive man and the woman scorned. Yeah. This is what you cannot do. Or what you should be careful of. So, where we left it off, part 1 is that Officer Matt had left his lady, not left, had gotten into a heated discussion. As I understood it was about 45 minutes to an hour that they were talking. They had gone to breakfast, and they were back in the hotel lobby in Itaewon. And because there was CCTV about this, so I saw that. And it was about an hour. And they were having heated discussion about this. And she was angry and getting angrier and angrier. And what was occurring in her mind was, what can I do to, F this guy up? Without thinking about the consequences. And here's where, women or men, anyone in a relationship, when you start going down the path of legal, it's very difficult to turn that around. Very difficult to turn that around. Once you start that ball rolling, it does not stop. And you're going to screw up your life or somebody else's life, right? So you have to be careful. I'm not saying people shouldn't report, but think about it first, okay? You have some time to think about it. Anyway, so on the flip side, men, women, whatever kind of relationship you're in, whether you're a man and a man, woman and a woman, man and a woman, whatever, woman and a man, always have it consensual. One of the things I do is I make sure that if I'm meeting someone new in a group, the friends know that we're going home together and that it's consensual. I've gotten to the point where I will record audio, the conversation beforehand. And that's just to protect myself, This is something we live in this world today. Okay? So you have to be careful. There are people out there, whether they're male or female, who are vindictive and don't think about the consequences. They just want revenge. And there are a lot of unstable people out there, male and female. This is not a man thing. This is not a girl thing. I'm not picking. I'm saying this can happen. Okay? It happens all the time. I'm just highlighting what happened to Officer Matt. So, they're at the lobby. She's upset. They've been chatting, arguing for an hour. And she decides, that's it. I'm going to walk across the street to the police station. And she does just that. He doesn't think anything. He thinks she's bluffing, and he goes up to his room. So, she files a police report. And I don't know what happened next. Now, because he is U.S. military, he's protected under the SOFA agreement. So, SOFA is S-O-F-A, a strategic, forces agreement. Something forces agreement. So basically what that means is that it doesn't give blanket immunity to U.S. forces. It's not for citizens. It's for those who are deployed in Korea or in the Asian theater in defense of, in Department of Defense or whatever. So they're covered under this agreement. Basically what it means is that if they're charged with a crime in Korea, the investigation is conducted, but they are handed over to the U.S. authorities for investigation, trial, and punishment. At that point, the US forces can decide to hand them back to the Korean forces. It all depends. And it's up to the US forces. But that's the agreement they've made. And that's a sticking point here in Korea. They don't like that here. But it doesn't mean they get off. It means that they get a record. Okay? And the Koreans, if the Americans do nothing, can deny that person access to Korean territory. It's their territory. So the person can only sit on base. So usually what happens is the person is sent back home to the US. Anyway, so he was, at this point, brought back on base and confined to barracks and investigated. So the Korean police are investigating. The way it works in Korea is that the police investigate and then hand the file to the prosecutor. The prosecutor decides whether or not to lay charges. So this is what happened, the timeline that occurred. He was immediately detained and brought on to the US base and confined to quarters. An investigation was begun. He provided a statement to the US forces, JAG, Judge Advocate General. I'm not sure if he provided anything to the Korean police. She had her story, and this is where I became involved. I get a phone call from him telling me what happened. And the reason I was involved was because a mutual friend of mine, Mr. J, Korean friend of mine, had either introduced or knew the girl. I think he had introduced. I think. Somehow he knew the girl. I'm not going to go into, I don't care. He knew the girl. So Officer Matt was asking me to contact Mr. J to ask him to talk to the girl to get this thing cleared up. So Mr. J calls the girl and records the conversation. And the girl admits that, she lied, but that she was angry. And all she wanted was him to make her whole, take care of the hospital bills for the tests, right? And she rightly felt, pissed off because, he initiated a relationship, in my opinion, on false pretenses, not telling her that he's, leaving. That's not, in my opinion, cool. I'm not going to call him a friend. I'm going to call him an acquaintance, Officer Matt. He was a nice guy, but I didn't like the way he went about his social life. But that's his business. It's not mine, right? I can comment. I can't judge, but I can make a comment. I don't judge people because I don't want to be judged myself. I have an opinion and I have a comment which I'll voice, which I don't agree. I don't agree with the way he went about his social life. It wasn't honorable. So, where were we? So he's trying to gather evidence or whatever to have this charges withdrawn. And in Korea, we have blood money, where you can offer money to withdraw the charges. And I can't remember whether she wanted money or whether she denied the idea. I can't remember. But there was some negotiation going on. And on the one hand, they had the recording of her admitting that it was false. And on the other hand, he wanted to pay to get rid of it because he just wanted it done. But there was a sticking point because the US forces, regardless of the charge being withdrawn or dismissed, investigate. So at this point, his transfer is now gone. He has a spot on his record and is under house arrest. Cannot leave base. And he was supposed to leave in a few days. It's now 2 or 3 months down the road, and he's stuck on base. We're going to leave it at that, part 2. Part 3 coming up. E21 Sammy. I'm out.